Hi there, this is Laura from Linguist, and today's lesson is about gerunds. Hold on a sec, Lau. What's a gerund? Well, that's a great question. Gerunds are something we use all the time in English. A gerund is basically a verb plus ing. Like go, going would be the gerund. Play, playing. That's why in this lesson I'm going to tell you about 4 simple situations in which we use gerunds in English. Situation number 1. When we use gerunds as the subject of a sentence or phrase. Remember, the sentences have 2 parts, the subject part and the object part. And the difference between one and the other is the verb. For example, English is very important nowadays. So English may become learning English is very important nowadays. Or dancing is my favorite sport. The second situation in which we use gerunds is after a preposition. Keep in mind that prepositions are words like in, on, at, of, about, with. Well, when we use a verb after a preposition, we need to use a gerund. For example, I've always been crazy about traveling. Or, many people can't live without using their mobile phones. The situation in which we can use gerunds is after certain verbs. There are some verbs that can be followed by another verb. So we will have a verb number 1 and the verb number 2. The verb number 1 will decide which form verb number 2 should have, which can be a gerund or a to infinitive. Some verbs that are followed by gerund when appearing in position 1 are the verb admit, like I admit cheating on the test. Very bad. Or keep trying. I'm sure you'll succeed soon. And finally, the most obvious situation, in my opinion, in which we use gerunds is when making continuous tenses. Remember that to make a continuous tense, we need to conjugate verb to be and then use the gerund. For example, I am learning, I was learning, I have been learning, I will be learning. Let's see a few more examples. I'm working on something important at the moment. My mom was watching TV when I called her. Remember, we use gerunds to create continuous tenses, but also as the subject of a sentence, after prepositions, and after certain verbs.
In this program, we're talking about state verbs. We'll explain what they are.
We'll show you how to use them.
We'll give you lots of examples.
And we'll finish with a quiz to see what you've learned.
So let's get started. We can separate English verbs into 2 groups, state verbs and action verbs. Verbs are different because we don't usually use them in the continuous tenses.
That's right. We don't use state verbs in tenses that use the ing form, such as the present continuous and the past continuous.
Right, now you're probably asking what kind of verbs are state verbs. Well, there are 3 main types. The first type, verbs that describe feelings and attitudes such as love, hate, like, and prefer. Here's Harry with an example.
What's this music? I like it.
Thanks, Harry. In that example, Harry's talking about his feelings now, but he doesn't say, I'm liking it.
No, I'm liking is the present continuous tense, and with state verbs, that's usually wrong. We'll say a bit more about this later on, but the general rule is use the present simple for verbs of feeling like love, like, and hate.
Now for the second type of state verb, that's verbs of thinking.
So, verbs like think, know, believe, understand, remember. Here are some examples.
I believe Andrew's living in Dubai now. Do you remember if he's married?
Good. In this example, Harry's using the present simple tense with the verbs believe and remember. You can't use them in the continuous. As well as these 3 main types, there are some other common state verbs. For example, have, own, belong.
Want, need, mean.
But in the other meaning, they're state verbs, so you can't use the continuous tense. Some examples, please, Harry.
Mick looks like his sister.